I called for a doubling of our investment in charter schools.
I'm a big believer in charter schools.
I believe in public charter schools.
Charter schools work, and they work very well.
Charter schools are so successful that almost every politician can find something good to say about them.
You've seen these schools, the ones with fresh paint, clean signage, and smiling kids on every brochure. They call them public charter schools, a new way to do education. Smaller, smarter, freer. That's the sales pitch. But step inside, and the story changes. No licensed principal, no certified teachers, no nurse, sometimes no students. And yet, the funding never stops. Why? Because in this model, education isn't the product, the student is. Take one charter in Ohio. It shut down without notice. Parents found locked doors. Teachers were gone. Classrooms empty. But the rent still paid to a private company owned by the school's founder. In New York, another school kept a secret list, the Got to Go list. Students flagged before third grade testing, too slow, too disruptive, too likely to fail. 9 students disappeared, scores improved. The school was celebrated, but no one asked what happened to the missing kids. No one wanted to. This isn't mismanagement, it's monetization. The school rents its own building from a shell company it created. It buys textbooks from a vendor run by a board member's cousin. It outsources operations to an education management organization that takes 20% off the top before a single class is taught. Let's talk about the money, because once the charter model scaled, so did the margins. Charter schools receive public funding, just like traditional public schools. Roughly $15,000 per student, sometimes more. But unlike public schools, charters don't have to follow the same spending rules. That's where the profit begins. Most charter schools are legally nonprofits, but look closer and you'll find something else. Textbooks outsourced, building leased, staffing contracted, operations managed by a private firm. It's called an EMO, Education Management Organization. Think of it as the shadow operator. The school gets the money. The EMO runs the business and takes a cut anywhere from 10 to 25%. That's before a single student walks into class. In Florida, one charter network paid over $63 million to its own EMO, run by executives who also sat on the school's board. In Ohio, schools collapsed mid-semester, but the landlords still collected rent because the contracts weren't tied to students. They were tied to square footage. Here's how it works. The school signs a long-term lease with a private real estate company. The company is owned by the school's founder. The school outsources food service to a vendor run by the board chair's spouse. The EMO hires teachers as at-will contractors. No union, no protection, no pensions. Everything looks separate, but it's not. It's the same network. So, you want to fix public education. You're going to start a charter school. Your mission, to give parents a choice and students a chance. You'll innovate. You'll get results. You'll be the hero this broken system needs. There's just one problem. Some students are expensive, they have special needs, they don't test well, they drag down your scores. And in this game, scores are everything. They're how you get funding, how you build your reputation, and how you prove to the world that your model works. So you need a way to get the right students, the ones who make your numbers look good. This is where the genius of the system comes in. You tell the world you accept everyone. And on paper, you do, but you don't have to keep everyone. Make no mistake, this may be about education before, but it's all about optimization now. You see those success stories, the kids with the high scores, the awards, the acceptance letters to top universities? They're your marketing. They're the proof you hold up to the masses saying, see, it works. But here's the question they don't want you to ask. Who gets to stay? Because the students who make it through your system, they tend to look the same. No behavioral issues, no special education needs. They have parents who can show up for mandatory interviews during business hours. Families with a car and the time to drive across town twice a day. That's not a random sample, it's a filtered one. And the filter is the secret to your success. Here's how it works. You make the application available only in English. You offer zero transportation. You require parent interviews in the middle of a workday. You offer no support for students with learning disabilities or language needs. Did your family fail to meet these unspoken requirements? Too bad. They never rejected you. You just didn't make it into their numbers. And what about the ones who get in but don't meet expectations? The ones who threaten your perfect scores? Well, you have a system for that too. Some are suspended, others are quietly counseled out and encouraged to find a better fit. And when they leave, your test scores go up. Your teacher-to-student ratio improves, your funding and your reputation both get a boost. In Texas, one charter chain sent recruitment mailers that skipped 3 zip codes, all of them majority Black and Latinx neighborhoods. The reason? They were too expensive to serve, too likely to lower the average. This was never about choice, it was about shaping data. The families with the resources, the time, and the know-how, they navigate the maze, they get the interviews. Their kids become the charter success stories, not because they're smarter, but because they're more compatible with the model. They call it school choice, but in reality, it's curation. So you think this is a story about a broken system, a few loopholes, a couple of bad apples. You've already fallen for the propaganda. This wasn't a mistake. It was a quiet takeover, executed in plain sight. And it was all done by the book, a book they wrote themselves. First, you need a good story, something the public can get behind. You call it choice. You call it innovation. You call it freedom. And you tell them the only thing standing in the way is red tape, so you get out your scissors. State legislatures start cutting holes in the law. Public money, it goes to private companies now. Audits, minimal. Union contracts and school board oversight, exempt. They don't even need certified teachers anymore. This wasn't a system failing. This was a system being dismantled by design. And here's the genius part. You get everyone on board. The Democrats see a talking point on equity. The Republicans see dollar signs. And the billionaires, they see a new industry to conquer. Gates, the Waltons, Bloomberg, they didn't just fund this, they branded it. So while the news was busy celebrating education reform, the real work was happening in the back rooms. Lobbyists rewriting the laws, charter CEOs appointing themselves to the very boards meant to watch over them. Funny how they work. It's not corruption if you make it legal first, but for a takeover this big, you need silence. You need the watchdogs to look the other way, and they did. School districts were too scared of being called anti-choice. Universities wanted the grant money. The media loved the story of disruption. Everyone got their piece of the pie, so nobody wanted to be the one to flip the table. This didn't happen in the dark. It happened in broad daylight, signed and sealed in boardrooms and campaign offices across the country. The system didn't fail. It did exactly what it was designed to do. The damage wasn't a bug, it was a feature. So on the outside, it all looked like progress. The test scores were climbing. The graduation rates were soaring. The national media called it the future of education. They had their proof. They had their success stories. But here's what they didn't tell you. Behind every shiny new metric, there were names. And behind every number, there were stories no one wanted to hear. A parent says, "I thought I was giving my son a better chance, but all he got was a locked door and a lost semester." A teacher says, "They fired me mid-year because I refused to fake the attendance logs." These aren't isolated incidents. They are a feature of the system, not a bug. So what happens to the kids who don't fit the model? The ones who drag down the numbers? Well, they have a playbook for that. Some students are labeled at risk and then conveniently left out of test prep. Others are suspended over and over again until their parents give up, and some are simply told, "This might not be the right environment for you," which is of course code for get out. And when they leave, there's no record, no transition plan, no accountability. They just disappear from the spreadsheet, and the school's data, magically it improves. Because this was never about education, it's about optics. But what about the students who manage to stay? The ones who survive the filter? They face a different kind of chaos, overcrowded classrooms, a revolving door of teachers, missing services. In a single school year, a student might have 3 different principals and 6 different math teachers. No school counselor, no nurse. This isn't a glitch in the system, it is the system. And when parents ask questions, they get vague emails. When teachers raise concerns, they lose their contracts. The kids are left to sink or swim. But the system, it doesn't care. It's not built around the student. It's built around the funding. And when the whole house of cards collapses, when a charter school finally shuts its doors, the students are thrown back into the public schools, the very schools that were already underfunded and stretched thin. They show up mid-year behind in their classes and traumatized by the instability. But the charter company, it just moves on. The building gets a new sign, the executives cash their checks, and the student, they have to start over again. They told you a story. They told you this was about students, about fixing broken schools, about giving families a choice, and maybe for a minute they even believed it themselves. But what started as a bold idea quickly became a funding mechanism. What began as a school became an asset. And when you have an asset, you need revenue. And when you have revenue, you attract power. And power, well, power designs a system to protect itself. A system that calls itself public, but runs like a private company. A system that markets opportunity, but engineers its data by filtering out complexity. A system that blames individuals for failing, but rewards the designers for its success. So when you see the dropouts, the shuttered schools, the burned out teachers, that wasn't an accident. It wasn't even a side effect. The brochures promised innovation. What they delivered was extraction. The language promised equity. What they built was a hierarchy. The buildings looked like schools, but they moved like businesses. And they fed like machines. Because in this game, the student was never the customer. They were the currency. You are watching Academic Empire, and these are the dirty secrets of public charter school. See you in the next one.